the concentration of you brought up there's now two, and again I'm vastly oversimplifying, but we have two companies now, J.P. Morgan Chase and Bank of America, which have a huge Citigroup's still trying to find its way around. I think I happen to own some stock in it, so I know it's still trying to find its way.
And it's selling for $4 a share.
It's $4, which is better than $2.
Exactly, much better than $2.
But these two companies, J.P. Morgan Chase and Bank of America, have a huge amount of clout because they are operating at all these, they're operating in all these different businesses.
Right. And
I mean, they're getting out of some of the most risky ones, but they're still there.
The numbers that are truly, when I argued on the floor on my amendment to take a look at the banks and make sure they aren't too big to fail. And then the numbers are really 15 years ago. The top 6 banks in America are controlled. Their assets control 17% of the gross domestic product. Today, they control 63% of gross domestic product. And the reason they do, so if they were too big to fail before, they're definitely too big to fail now, in my opinion. And the reason is because while we went through this unpleasantness, we made them bigger. We took Bear Stearns and Washington Mutual, and we put them into J.P. Morgan Chase, and we took Merrill Lynch, and we put it into Bank of America, and we took Wachovia, and we put it into Wells Fargo. And the idea that after this was over, we didn't go back and try to separate this out so these banks weren't so gigantic and so risky, that's just something we should have done. And obviously, I wanted us to reinstate Glass-Steagall and to say to a bank, if you want to be in the commercial banking business, if you want to have FDIC insurance, you cannot be in the investment banking business.
Do you think there's going to be a chance that once everything settles down a little bit, this issue will be revisited a little bit because
this issue is going to continue. Look, one of the good things people are upset about, the health care bill or this bill. You don't pass bills and then go away and leave them.
Right.
What happens when you go away and leave them is when you don't pass bills. Right. 1994, we didn't pass health care reform. And we went away and didn't do anything for 15 years because nobody wanted to touch it.
Right.
I guarantee you, health care reform will be revisited in every single Congress. And I'm telling you, if they put everything in the bill that I wanted and everybody else, all the good things, we'd still be revisiting. This is an incredibly complex issue, and it changes. And we already have a bill. We have a bill to straighten out one particular area of the Dodd-Frank financial reform bill, where there's a mistake made about freedom of information for the Securities Exchange Commission. We've already fixed that. So when you pass legislation, then you fix it. Right. Getting the legislation passed originally is key. Right. So we're going to be revisiting all of these levels of legislation.
Was Mike Castle too honest when he said they're not going to repeal health care? You think he was right when he said that?
Oh, I don't. Yeah, I think there's no way we're going to repeal health care. I mean, first off, the number of things in there that everyone agrees with. There are no death panels. Right. So people still believe the death panels in there. Right. So we can't repeal the death panel section because there is no death panel section. Sure. So many of the things that you read on the internet and people sent me on the internet were just totally inaccurate. One of the things that people don't even read about the health care bill, I bet there aren't, I don't know how many people know, but in that, because a lot of people are talking about, well, we need more primary care physicians. Right. In the health care bill, there are incentives, which the Congressional Budget Office says will create 20,000 more primary care physicians. Nobody knows that. The work we're going to do in terms of increasing the quality of care in the country, the fact that right now, I know a lot of people, especially with the economic problem we're in right now, if you have a child 26 years of age, up to 26 years old, you can add them to your health care thing. We have so many people out of work. Right. The other thing is you have pre-existing conditions. Right. In addition to that, you have if you have a pre-existing condition under this, you cannot be refused health care. And they can't go in like they've done so many times, the health insurance companies. And if you're sick, revoke your health care. Right. So those are the things that I think no one wants to revoke.
Now, I guess on the other side is this is still privately driven, and in response to these things, the healthcare organizations are increasing their premiums by double digits. Of course, we knew that was going to happen. I mean,
as long as we have a private system, which we have, in which there's no movement. People say to me, you know, people on the Republicans say to me,
Yeah.
why didn't you cap health insurance? I said, there's no way the Republicans would put the cap health insurance.
Mhm.
So, I mean, this is like, you know, a lot of the things that they find wrong with this bill are things that we couldn't put them in there because there was no chance
Right.
we could ever get the 60 votes you need to
Right.
filibuster to do those things. I mean, the health insurance companies, it's really incredible to me how people talk about federal bureaucrats who, by the way, we didn't put public option. This does not increase the power of federal bureaucrats. What it increases the power of is the people in the health insurance industry who you're dealing with when you have a problem.
Right.
And, you know, I just think that you know, that people should take a hard look at what is being proposed by Republicans in terms of what we should be doing on health care. And most of it has to do with them giving more power to the health insurance companies.
Yeah, this whole thing, I keep hearing this thing, let's sell insurance across state lines,
Yeah.
but yet there's going to be consortiums set up.
Exactly. And who's going to regulate? Right now, all the regulation, this is amazing to me.
Mhm.
All the regulation now on insurance companies is done at state level,
Right.
not the federal government.
Right.
If you go across state lines, you're going to have the federal government has to regulate it because you
Right.
can't have
So there's
regulations.
state
If you got you got a firm operating in Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Virginia, who determines what the rules are going to be?
Right.
You know, if people want to buy across the line. So if Virginia has one set of rules, Maryland has another set of rules, Delaware has another set of rules, and you're going across state lines, how does that work without the federal government coming in and regulating? So it was one of those things that I'm amazed. People like say, well, we got too much federal regulation, we have too much regulation. And what we got to do is have insurance across state lines. Who is going to look after the insurance companies if, in fact, you have an insurance company, people in Pennsylvania allowed to go to New Jersey or New York, or
Right.
California to get their health insurance? Who's going to set the rules? I mean, just basic rules. And so,
And do you end up with a system? I know of someone, I talked to a dentist one time, he said he had 800 different insurance plans. He had to hire 3 people
right.
to handle the 800 different plans.
Unfortunately, in most cases, it's
Yeah.
the other way. There's 1 or 2. You only get
Well,
one.
I know that's true, but dental is a free, totally
Exactly.
free market system, so that's what we would.
No, that's what you face with.
Well, obviously, in this state, we got 60-40 or something between 2 companies.